Hello. Yeah, I guess it'll just be me for the time being because I am. This is actually going to be my last opportunity to do a showcast, do some shilling for this month, I believe, because I'll be having my kids. So I thought let's do some shilling, and I think everybody's schedule's kind of all over the place. Hoping to get some people coming in as we go, but yeah, how's everybody going? Doing? I can speak. Listen, it's always good to do a stream where you can speak. That's important. But yes, definitely have some topics I want to go over today. But here's kind of a lighter one that I thought I'd go ahead and go over. Um, goddamn, I'm getting. I just use StreamYard. I guess I haven't used the Shillcast StreamYard, so I'm a little rusty. But let me go ahead and pull this up. Guess we'll just roll right into a story. So there's a clip of Home Improvement going. Oh, let me go ahead and. I feel like a noob. I'm a noob, guys. I've done this before. I swear. Because we're gonna need to share audio on this. There we go. Okay, we should be good to go now. All right. So just starting out with a lighter story. A clip of Home Improvement, and this is just a BuzzFeed article, but I thought the Stephanie Soteru. God, I'm slaughtering her name, I'm sure. But I thought at least the beginning of this, I think she did a good job setting this up. A Home Improvement clip is going viral for exposing just how backwards we have gone as a society. Oh dear. Oh, he's leaving me. No, is he? You want to co-host? Guys, I got a co-host today. I'm good to go. Anyways. Let me go ahead and clear this off so I can see chat. Anyways, it's no exaggeration to say there's an entire section of society who are quick to diminish any display of equality or morality as woke or leftist these days, with much of their disdain for these things seemingly stemming from the misconception that being politically correct is a new or unwanted phenomenon. Which is why a resurfaced clip from the 90s sitcom Home Improvement has caused quite a stir, with viewers pointing out that the overriding message of the episode would spark outrage from a particular group of people if it were on the air today. So I went ahead and pulled up this clip. It's edited up for TikTok, so hopefully that means I'll clear YouTube here. But we can go ahead and look over this because it is kind of startling. Hold on, let me get. Where's audio? Where's? Come on, can we get audio? There we go.
Making me a ham sandwich.
Hey guys.
How about you, Dad? You want her to make you one?
I don't need Angela to make me a sandwich.
She doesn't mind.
I don't mind.
I don't need you to make me a sandwich, thanks.
Well, I could toss you a salad.
I'm really not that hungry, actually. Thanks anyway. Hey, I finished recessing the other turn indicator in the garage. Would you take a look at it with me for a minute?
Yeah, cool.
Great. Excuse us for a minute.
I'll be right back.
Very smooth, Brad.
Yeah, I can see that. You did a great job filing the edges.
No, I'm talking about you and Angela. Boy, you snap your finger and she just jumps into action.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
I don't know. Do you ever wonder why she does stuff like that?
She enjoys it.
I'm not so sure. Sometimes girls do that because they're afraid if they don't do stuff like that, men won't like them.
Where'd you hear that?
I read it. You know that book that's holding up the workbench? It's called The Feminine Mistake.
Just to interrupt the clip, it's so weird living in modern society now because he said Reddit, and my brain instantly went to the website Reddit, which this predates by quite a few years, but I just...
It's written by Betsy Freeloader.
So now you're a feminist too?
I don't know what I am, but there's stuff in there about a relationship that makes a lot of sense. When the girl does all the work, it's not a good relationship.
Yeah, you're just saying this because you ended up marrying somebody like Mom.
Excuse me?
Well, don't get me wrong, I love Mom.
I didn't end up with Mom. I love her. I love her because she's a strong woman.
You like that she gives you a hard time?
Yeah. That's what makes it exciting. I keep trying to think of new ways to slip stuff by her. And she's always coming up with new ways to nail me. We're equal partners.
And you think that's good?
Well, I don't know. It works for me. But maybe Having Angela as your sandwich girl works for you. Whole life is sandwiches. Maybe get a sandwich. Sandwich, sandwich, sandwich. Make another sandwich.
Where's Brad?
He's in the garage with his dad looking at the hot rod. I'm making him a ham sandwich.
Angela, do you really think that's a good idea?
Why? You think you'd rather have turkey?
We have to have a talk.
Okay, right when I'm done with the sandwich. Do you think he'll want fruit? Maybe I'll cut up an orange.
Sister.
Oh, hey, Dad, I don't know what kind of mustard you want.
So weird watching 90s sitcoms because it feels so dated. I'm like, wow, it's been a while since I've watched a show like this, seriously.
Mild goes better with dill pickles, but if you want sweet pickles, then I'll give you the Dijon. I also need to know what kind of cheese you want.
You shouldn't be making me a sandwich.
I don't mind.
I do.
Don't you like my sandwiches?
I like you. That's why I don't think a girl should do stuff for a guy when he can do it on his own.
Yes.
When did you start feeling this way?
Oh, I don't know, about 3 minutes ago when I was in the garage.
I just thought that was an interesting clip. Yeah, Tim Allen being woke, apparently. Tim Allen goes woke, guys. Tim Allen is, I know he was a Trumper. I know he blasted Trump over 9/11. Not 9/11. Oh my God. January 6th. Getting key dates messed up. He blasted him over that. I know most people who blasted him over that went back to him in 2024, and I'm kind of assuming he's one of those guys, but I have no idea. But yeah, that's Tim Allen being woke, apparently, back in the 90s. So yeah, that's, I just thought that'd be a fun thing to open with. But there's a couple other things to go over, a bit lighter stuff before we start, because I do have some Chud coverage lined up. Don't worry, we'll be talking about them. But here we go. This is an article that was shared in our server. I haven't even gone over this yet, so we'll go over it again. Yeah, Tim Allen's a conservative. He was a Trumper, at least in 2016 and 2020. The Fantastic Four First Steps test screening reactions, misinterpreted movie received excellent scores. It seemed the negative reactions to Fantastic Four First Step were blown out of proportion, as the person who shared their thoughts on the movie has revealed how those were taken and misrepresented. And this is something, actually, just diving into this, I think this will be something to keep in mind, because all the chuds always like to talk about how, oh, test screening sucks for this test. Oh, Captain America 4 had the worst test screenings ever. All that stuff. And if you're like me, hey, Captain America 4 was kind of disappointing, but wasn't like bad. I wouldn't call it bad. It was just kind of, it was entertaining enough. I wouldn't call it a disaster by any means. Anyways, excuse me. A test screening for Fantastic Four First Steps took place earlier this week, and reactions soon found their way online. Those were shared by Jeff Snyder, who is spotty as far as his reports, Daniel Reichtman, and at My Time to Shine H, with recurring theme being that the movie is meh. Now, the person who provided at least one of the trio with this information, their scoops parroted each, meaning they either shared a source or distributed the information between themselves, has come forward to set the record straight. I've been seeing lots of reporting on anecdotes and facts that I recognize as my own, a screening attendee wrote. I want to debunk some misinterpretation. So this is the person. So essentially, it sounds like a lot of these reporters, mainly these guys, got test screening reviews, and it sounds like it's mainly from this one guy. I wanted to debunk some misinterpretations I've heard. No one screamed mid in the audience. That's a bizarre thing to scream in a test screening. What the hell? Mid. There was a guy next to me sighing and flapping his hands around. When the movie was over, I asked his opinion. He said it was mid. I was told this on Discord right after I left. Certain insiders had blown this story out of proportion, saying that some lunatics screamed mid in the theater. This is 100% untrue. There was an employee asking random people for their reactions. I heard a lot of excellence, the highest rating on the survey. So, yeah. They add the film is fast-paced, but not a mess. and said their issues with the movie were things like Reed Richards not turning into any crazy shapes, and the thing not having a Brooklyn accent. However, they acknowledge they're big comic book fans, and as such, nitpicks are unlikely to bother regular moviegoers. Yeah, a lack of character development may, however, be problematic. As we write this, Reichman has apologized, and At My Time to Shine has removed their expo. Snyder has said nothing. It seems the telephone game got way out of control, with facts misinterpreted or spun to sound more negative. While we're not suggesting anyone has deliberately misconstrued the reaction to Fantastic, I would. There's plenty of people who absolutely did misconstrue it. Yeah. Yeah, mid the new chicken jockey. I like that, Philip. Negativity does typically fuel social interactions and subscriptions. No kidding. More than good news. And as we've repeatedly pointed out, this is ultimately just one opinion from many in the audience of the screening. So overall, it sounded like people liked it. One person said mid, and then these guys got wind of the person who said it was mid, and they just started repeating it. And we see that a lot with the Chud channels, the Grifter Network. They just get like these little tidbits of information. They amplify it. And of course, we've also learned, even if they don't get tidbits of information, they'll just sometimes just make up shit. But yeah, and it sounds like it's this huge news when it's reality. Just all these like more popular Chud channels are just repeating the same thing over and over again. Gets really annoying. I do think that's interesting, reading that it was just something amplified. Kind of wild. And it also sounds like Fantastic Four First Steps might be a solid movie. Here's crossing my fingers. I will say Thunderbolts got me really excited for this one. So I got some light Chud coverage before we get to a more serious story. So we'll go ahead and go over some light Chud's coverage. Here's Critical Drinker simping for Tom Cruise, and this is a kind of baffling. Like I kind of wish I understood why the Chuds have decided to worship at the feet of Tom Cruise. I mean, Tom Cruise, let's face it, I think he is a decent enough actor. And he, in general, makes good movies, sans The Mummy. I most part like his movies. They usually don't blow me away, but they're usually solid. But like I know they're talking about how he's like the last true movie star, and I think even that's kind of overrated. I think we did see big returns with Top Gun Maverick, but his two post-pandemic Mission Impossible movies, while they've done good enough, they haven't been like setting the box office on fire or anything. They're doing okay. But anyways, so Tom Cruise was just sharing facts about Mission Impossible. This weekend was one for the history books. Congratulations to and thank you to every filmmaker, every artist, every crew member, every single person who worked at the studios, to every theater, every employee who helps bring these stories together, to audiences, thank you. To everyone that works at Paramount Pictures and Skydance, thank you for your many years of partnership and unwavering support. And thank you to the audience everywhere whom we all serve and whom we all love to entertain, which is honestly kind of a general message that lots of people will post. And I find it bizarre that Critical Drinker's like, oh yeah, this is why he's the one last movie star. And I just remember all the Chud videos around time Top Gun 2 came out. They were talking about how awesome it was that, yeah, no, he won't be joining Critical Drinker's Rogue Elements. There's actually some woke elements in the new Mission Impossible. Of course, there's always been woke elements in Mission Impossible movies. There's woke elements in Top Gun Maverick, but yeah, it's always bizarre. But they always seem to ignore it whenever it's convenient for them, which is, kind of telling that they're pretty grifty. That is true. Not trashing Tom. Well, to be honest, like, yeah, if most anybody else posted this, they probably would trash him. But that's the thing. There's this worship of Tom Cruise, and it's like he is a Scientologist. I don't think he's a conservative. It's not like he really goes out there for his politics. Honestly, he seems like kind of a lightweight to me. I don't want to judge the guy too harshly. I don't know him. The Scientology thing is cringe as fuck though. Um, but yeah, it's like Top Gun 2 does huge box office, and all the judge are like, oh yeah, he's the last true action star. And it's like, we have plenty of movie stars. It just because we have a movie star in a movie doesn't guarantee it will be a massive hit. It used to be more of a guarantee back in the day, but it still wasn't guaranteed back in the day. But I mean, yeah, I mean, even today we still have movie stars like Ryan Gosling, Chris Pratt, who pop up in fucking most everything anymore. And we will be getting to Chris Pratt later, unfortunately. Not in a good way, not in a terrible way. But I don't know. I wish I understood. Actually, no, I don't wish I understood the mind of a chud and why they worship someone like Tom Cruise, who does decent enough action movies, I guess. I mean, there are better action directors, but okay. Yeah, I mean, where okay, so the new Mission Impossible was fine. Sinners was way better. Where's the love like this for Michael B. Jordan? And yes, I also know, Screwface, you're listing off some movie stars. Michael B. Jordan, Denzel Washington, absolutely fucking movie stars. But let's go ahead and go to another chud take here. This is just in our brief one to go over. So apparently this is Daisy Ridley photo shoot that was deleted, where we get to see her butt. It does look quite nice, I will give him that. But apparently Heelvsbabybface thinks all is forgiven. And this is one that I find bizarre again, because it's like, I don't even know what Daisy Ridley did to require forgiving. She was in a couple of Star Wars movies. Like, grow up? But of course, I mean, these guys always talk about how it's bad writing, but now it's okay because you see her butt? Like, what? These guys are so brain dead, it drives me insane. That is true. Movie stars are woke. Absolutely. Um. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And well, yeah. Yeah. There's a creep factor as well. Now, maybe chuckling a little before this one is a bit much. Oh, we have a guest. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Hey, were you by yourself this whole time?
Yes.
I'm getting an echo. Hold on. Testing. I'm still getting an echo.
I'm not hearing it.
Is anybody in the chat seeing the echo, or is it just me? I'm just curious on my end. All right, they're hearing it too.
Oh dear. Here it might be. Is there still an echo, guys? Here, talk, Eric.
Hello. Is there an echo? So it wasn't just me hearing it.
No, I suspect it's because I was screen sharing.
Oh, it's good now.
Oh, okay. They said it was good now. It was when I muted the screen share. Okay.
Is it because you had OBS
I remember,
open?
do I have any... I do have another video to share, so we'll have to work around that. But, yes. Usually it's good at recognizing.
I don't know why that's doing that.
Yeah.
I've never heard it do that before. So
StreamYard's been buggy recently, I swear. Well, you just showed up for the fun story.
Yeah, I talked about this on actually on the day it happened. I remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I heard about it yesterday, and yeah, it sounds really messed up. I haven't done any reading on it, so this is me getting up to date here. I will say, King of the Hill was I think I was kind of out of the loop on it. I never did watch it outside some random episodes. And despite being a general fan of Mike Judge. But yeah, King of the Hill actor Jonathan Doss, husband, says fatal shooting came after openly homophobic harassment and home arson.
Yeah.
Update with a statement from husband Tristan Kern D. Gonzalez. Jonathan Joss, who voiced John Redcorn on multiple seasons of Fox's animated series King of the Hill and its upcoming revival. Oh, so there's a revival coming, and he was on that as well.
Yeah, there's one that's like it's a time jump. So
okay. Was shot and killed Sunday in San Antonio. Police have confirmed. Police say Joss, 59, was found shot near a roadway after officers were dispatched up to the scene of a shooting in progress in the early evening hours. Police attempted life-saving measures, but paramedics pronounced Joss deceased. A suspect, Sigfredo Alvarez Sija, I'm slaughtering names, 56, was located and eventually booked for murder. According to police, the investigation is ongoing. Jesus.
The last I saw updated was that the police department was not investigating it as a hate crime yet. So I don't know if anything's changed since then.
I know. Well, it's mainly the husband, so I kind of want to hear what his takes on it. My husband, Jonathan Joss, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after over 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times, and nothing was done. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our... Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Trigger warning for, like, pet owners.
Yeah. Oh, God. Skull of one of our dogs in its harness placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. God, I'm getting emotional distress just reading that. Fuck. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violently homophobic slurs. He then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Joss and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Jonathan is my husband. He gave me more love in our time together than most people ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. I was with him when he passed. He told me how much he loved. I told him how much he was loved. To everyone who supported him, his fans and friends know that he valued you deeply, and he saw you as family. Jesus Christ. That I guess there's just a little bit left. My focus now is on protecting Jonathan's legacy and honoring the life we built together. Your concern is how someone coped with the trauma or how loudly they speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities. Then you never truly cared about my husband. Jonathan saved my life. I will carry that forward. I'll protect what he built. God, just reading that is heartbreaking. Eric. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I told everyone that, like, just the fact that we live in a world now where people think it's okay to walk up and just start shooting someone is really fucking crazy.
That is insane.
I mean, they're at their house. The house is already burned down. They're checking their mail. And the neighbors hate them so much that they came up and just opened fire on them in a regular-ass neighborhood. Like, this isn't some... like war zone or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure they weren't living in like squalor or anything.
It's crazy. And the thing is, for it to happen at the beginning of Pride Month for an openly gay couple, and there's, I mean, I'm not going to say there hasn't been any sort of, support for people talking about it and getting it out there, but I would say that the mainstream outlets are not really covering this, and it's really weird they're not covering this.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this till I was at work, and then I was like, well, maybe we should talk about this on stream. So I pulled it up, and it sounds like a fucking hate crime to me. If it has been reported, and at this point I have no reason to doubt him, that letter fucking reads genuine as fuck.
Well, the investigation is still going on, even flow. But they were saying the last thing I read was right now, based on just what happened, they're not investigating it as a hate crime, but that doesn't mean they won't. It just means they're not doing it at the moment. And depending on like representation and, you know, what happens in the, you know, in charges being filed and stuff like that, will determine where they go with that. I don't think this case is going away overnight. I think this is going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on for a while to see what happens. But, and yeah, they knew each other. Like this is, there's a history of this. There's a video somewhere. I don't have it right this second, but I saw it where you can see like a year ago that they were feuding with this neighbor. So this is not a random thing. It's something that was, happening over time.
Obviously not. I mean, he killed the dog and Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is extremely fucked up. Yeah. And just the fact that like the dude felt like this is like this should be talked about, and just to make it absolutely clear, this is unacceptable for anything. Like there's not, oh my God, I'm still trying to get my thoughts together, but this is just a disgusting story, just reading into it. Rest in peace, Jonathan Joss, and I hope his husband does all right. But yeah, this is just a terrible fucking story. Yeah. I guess, do we want to look into Chris Pratt's reaction? I guess for something slightly lighter, but still kind of annoying.
His reaction to what? I didn't see that.
Jonathan Joss.
Oh, Chris Pratt had a reaction to this?
Yes.
No, I didn't see that.
No, and yeah, just I was looking over and I was like, let's go ahead and talk about, because it comes off very like detached and bizarre. So he just heard one of his coworkers had just died. Let's see if we can just get. Okay, here's what he said. He said this on Instagram. Damn, R.I.P. Jonathan. Always such a kind dude. He played Ken Hotate in Parks and was also in Mag 7. Sad to see. Prayers up. Hug your loved ones.
I mean, how about stop being homophobic? That's a better response. Like,
yeah.
Can we stop homophobic hate crimes? That would be a better stance. I'm glad he said something. It was nice that he came out and said something, but this doesn't. I'm so tired of seeing prayers. Like, prayers don't do anything. I'm sorry. Like, hug your loved ones, because I guess any point in time, no matter where you live in this country, it's just acceptable that someone is going to come out and open fire on you while you're checking your mail. Like,
yeah, that seems reasonable, right? Fucking hell. Yeah, this is so tragic and heartbreaking. This Pride Month has so much negativity. And yeah, it's not a great start to Pride Month. I will say that.
I also wanted to point out, I said this in my stream, even if it ends up not being a hate crime, like they're totally misunderstanding the situation and it's not a hate crime. Even if that's the case, someone still walked out and shot their neighbor at their mailbox. Like, it's just not, this is not hate crime or not. This shouldn't be happening in our country.
It's fucking murder, period. It's unacceptable, period. Yeah. And I'll be honest. I like, even like hate crime or not, like this guy just needs arrested, and like this thing needs to be treated as completely fucking unacceptable, because it is. We do have a little bit of Doctor Who talk about. I don't know whose channel it is, but thank you for the super chat. Hey guys, hope everyone is well. As someone who's loved Doctor Who since I was 11, consider it my favorite show. Az and Gary's LARP in the fandom really pissed me off. Yeah, it really comes off as a LARP anymore. These guys as their fans. Ooh, we're getting a lineup. Hey,
I would have been here sooner, but the link you sent didn't work, Bob.
It didn't?
No.
How'd you get in then?
I had to ask Eric for
the
correct link.
Well, why didn't it work? Well, no wonder no one's in here. Guys, I have carefully made sure no one else can join me for the stream.
That's why you were sitting by yourself the whole time.
Yes. It's a long plan. Well, crap. Well, sorry about that. I was like, I know I accidentally set it up in the recording studio. And I was like, oh, crap. Well, I sent the link, so it should be okay. Apparently not.
Also, on my channel, I don't know if you have it or not, Bob, but there's a leaderboard on my channel. So if you guys want to be part of the leaderboard, YouTube just turned it on. I didn't do it. But If you look at my chat, you can get points on the leaderboard for
Oh yes,
commenting and super chatting.
I've noticed that on my last stream as well.
Yeah, I
you
don't
get
really know
you get
what
XP for chatting.
Yeah, I don't really know what that does, but it's something YouTube added. So, and I can't turn it off, so I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. But
Guys,
anyway.
you gotta go in there and maximize your XP. Okay.
Yeah, you got to get all your XP. Level up in my chat.
If you
thank you.
guys are not all level 100 by the end of this stream, I don't know what you're doing.
Thank you for the super chat, Harold of Galactus. I just wanted to check it was my channel. I do appreciate it.
Okay. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, anything you guys want to add to the Jonathan Joss situation, Chris Pratt reaction before we?
I mean, I think I've said everything. We're curious to see what they determine with this investigation. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
I am curious.
Hate crime or not, it's a terrible crime. And
Right. Yeah. But then if it's a hate crime at the beginning of Pride Month, it's like, what a way to set a standard for the rest of the month. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with, anti-gay, queer stuff, but this was a big one. Yeah, spam the chat for XP. I know. I don't get it, but whatever.
It's so bizarre.
I think it is encouraging people to chat more. You get little prizes and things for doing it.
Yeah, maybe I'll maybe I'll set up some gifts or something that people can get for doing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do have some gifts in chat for my members. You guys never use them though. I'm just saying.
I don't understand what they are, so whenever anybody says that in their stream, I'm like, okay.
Well, if you stream, also if you're streaming vertical now, like if you go live on your phone, they can tip with gems.
Oh.
So it's like TikTok where you can spend gems to like tip people on live. So it's not just super chats. They can also tip you with like visual thingies that pop up on the screen. I think they're trying to make it more like TikTok or more like Twitch a little bit with the vertical
Probably.
streams.
I'm gonna attempt to share the link again. So if there's anybody who wants to join the showcast, go ahead because
I'll just drop it. I'll just drop it in my chat. Hold on a second. Let's see who shows up. Also, I'm going to be doing a call-in radio show. I've got a phone number set up.
Ooh.
So people that want to debate or chat about like different topics can actually call in. So I just got to work out the little kinks in it. But yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right. So there's 2 links in bottom one. If you're in the know on the server.
What does that mean? The private server where we?
Yeah, it's the private
Plot
server that's
and Steam.
managed by Coco Fox and
yeah, that one.
You know that one. Yeah,
Everybody's Alyssa Mercante's on there. All the heavy hitters are in there. The ones.
It's our exclusive Eric July server.
Right. It's called We
we
Hate Eric
talk
July.
about.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's essentially that's all we do all
talk
day.
about. Yeah.
We talk about how he's losing subs. He's dropped another 1K. Yay.
Woo! Well, it's because his content is so good.
The Organized Chaos cooking show. That would be interesting.
They'll be amazing.
For me, it would be microwave stuff. Watch me put this in the microwave.
I've had to learn to cook because my health was getting kind of spotty, and I had to learn just to cook to make stuff healthier. But yeah, I don't
wish you
always
good
follow
luck
it.
for that expensive ass healthy food in this country because they want to make America healthy again, but they don't want to do anything about the prices of like better food. So.
That is true. That is true. And that is frustrating as well. All right, so this next bit has an audio component, so we'll have to see about the echo. I'm a little bit concerned about that. All right, let's go ahead and play this. And if the echo's bad, chat, you gotta let us know.
Well.
This is something that. Yeah, the audio's on. So if you guys talk, there'll probably be an echo.
I will be quiet while we do it.
Yeah. So the BBC just blasted Doctor Who on live radio for being too woke. So let's go ahead and check out this clip here.
That in terms of like how many people are watching and what Doctor Who represents now, I've had a really interesting text. This is from Andy, who says, I'm a guy who considers himself of the left. Most of my friends are women, some are trans, some are gay. but even I cringe watching an episode of Doctor Who. It's no longer a family show about space and time travel. It's literally a bunch of memes telling us that white straight men are the source of all evil in the universe. It's aimed at 12-year-old girls, but watched by a declining number of people over the age of 40. If Doctor Who is dying, it's because the BBC has killed it. Yes, there were always stories that had messages or storylines about the environment or the misuse of power or intolerance, but now it has just become an intolerant program condemning most of its viewers simply for existing. Now, it's interesting because I watched this 20 minutes, it was just kind of randomly on, I was pottering around, it was on. I didn't feel as strongly as Andy feels, but I did notice like the diversity of the characters, and I was just like, okay, so this one's this person, this one's this person, this one's this person.
Yeah.
Fine, but I can see why Andy is saying what he's saying.
Sometimes it does feel like you're being lectured to. I think it really depends, depending on, who you are and kind of how much involved and how invested you are in this episode.
How does Doctor Who, like, the people over 40 still watching it and still wanting to relate to it in the same way? Like, you can't.
Or enjoy it. Just enjoy it and have that nostalgia. Maybe that's what Andy is saying. He feels alienated from even having that experience.
Yeah. But in the bits I have seen, I do kind of agree with him, because sometimes it does feel like you are being lectured to. I think in the few times we've had to watch it for must watch, because I never watch it by choice. I've come in and said exactly the same thing as Andy. So he's not imagining it. He's not alone. And, that I have always wondered if, how do you keep making a show if it is just lecturing at people and you're not just getting the time travel, space nonsense stuff?
All right, there shouldn't be an echo if you guys talk. I wanted to get that through because I wanted to pause it so many times. Like, oh my god, this is driving me insane.
No. I
wanted to get through the clip. But yeah, it is. I don't know what the fuck show they're watching, because I have complaints the past 2 seasons of Doctor Who, but like, what? Seriously, like, what are they talking about?
So I know Doctor Who airs internationally, so we're going to subtract that for a second, because I think I want to just kind of get a sort of better idea of this. Is it? I don't think Doctor Who's demographic is like 45 to 55-year-old men, right?
Well, that's not what it's supposed to be. That's not who it's aimed at.
So why are they the ones complaining about the content of the show when it's intended for a younger and family audience, not necessarily like old men? I don't understand.
That is true. It's primarily always been focused more towards a family-friendly audience. I mean, in its early, like when it first started, it was an educational show, for crying out loud.
Yeah, the BBC, because they are essentially government funded, their core tenant is to educate and entertain. That's one of their sort of core beliefs, and they've always had to. It's weird because technically they're not allowed to compete with commercial television stations, even though they do. So there's always had to be an element that says commercial stations would never do this, so just to justify themselves. So like Bob said, from the very beginning, it was an educational show. It was supposed to, the time travel and the spaciness of it was the framing device to teach kids about history and science, etc., etc. Yeah.
So my question would be, because like here in America, to sort of give an idea of how I see sort of being lectured to or whatever, is when I was growing up, and Bob, you might remember this too, there was a time period where children's media had to include some sort of an educational component to it. And that was why we had those PSAs at the end of like G.I. Joe and Transformers. The more you know. Right. So they contained all those PSAs and things like that. And we grew up with that. And I don't remember anybody complaining about being lectured to when we were literally being lectured to on those cartoons. But now the same adults, at least the ones in the American side of it that went through that, think that a show that covers topics and important topics and things that are, happening in the real world and need to be reflected in media, all of a sudden that's wrong. But isn't that part of the educational component of the series, to be sort of like aware of what's happening in the world and addressing what's happening in the world?
I think it also speaks to an ignorance of sci-fi. Lots of people, I swear, don't seem to understand sci-fi is about the world we're living in right now. Yes, it's about like fancy ships and traveling through outer space and time, but it's about our world. Like, people understand that, right? It's a reflection of all art is a reflection of the time it was created. That's unavoidable. So having Doctor Who be about things that are happening current day or maybe even happen in the past, that's just what it is. That's what it does. That's what everything does.
I mean, it also comes down to the talent of the people writing whatever the episode is. Like, because some people are much better at nuanced lecturing or nuanced, tackling subjects, heavy-handed subjects with like without a heavy hand, and you don't always get that. But also, I don't think shows like Doctor Who, and this is no offense to Doctor Who because I've watched and loved stuff like this in the past, but I don't think of Doctor Who as like the pinnacle of TV. Like, it's not the show that is the most prolific, most well-written, most well-done show on TV. And there is a lot of nostalgia in it, but a lot of the older Doctor Who is just kind of schlocky, silly stuff.
Oh, it's very, very BTV.
So the shift that happened feels disingenuous to me. It feels like a lot of people are expecting Doctor Who to age up with the audience, and that's not what the show, from my perspective, that's not what the show is. The show is a show that's supposed to stay and catering to a certain demographic, like, over time. It's not supposed to grow with the audience. This isn't one of those, like, you put the show out to pasture when everybody hits 70 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of those older Doctor Who seasons, if I remember correctly, they're missing. They're not even available. Some of them you can't even find. The gap between the more modern one,
The second Doctor is actually missing a ton of his stories. The first Doctor, some are missing. I think the third Doctor is the first one where we have all his stories still intact.
Yeah. And I think, weren't there like holiday specials that are completely gone that you'll never be, they were destroyed or something like that? I think there was like some holiday specials from like the early eras that were shown on TV, and then the actual film was destroyed.
There's definitely a Christmas special which was because I think it ends with, I think it's William Hartnell.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be old school.
Turns to the camera and wishes everybody a Merry Christmas, something like that. And I think that's completely gone. But yeah, I think what people seem to not understand, and clearly people who also work for the BBC, is that Doctor Who is aimed at kids. The fact that it's a family show doesn't mean that it's aimed at the whole family. It's aimed at kids to watch with their parents, so that their parents can either sort of protect them from the scary stuff, or explain the sort of the message. I mean, literally, it's supposed to educate, and it's always done that. But I think what's happening now is, like that guy who said he's sort of 40-ish, so he would have been into it when Christopher Eccleston came back. If he's my age, he wouldn't necessarily remember the Sylvester McCoy era. So his era started with Christopher Eccleston when he was sort of 16 to 18 to 20 or whatever. So he watched that iteration of the show, probably went off to university, because this is, I think, the sort of trajectory. You watch the show when you're a kid, you go off into the real world, you come back to the show, and you find it a bit childish because the last time you saw it, you were a kid.
I also want to point out, like, what was that here? What was a comment? The Revive series meant a lot more to recent generations. The show has had a lot of has different cultural relevance in the UK than it does in the US. Not holiday specials, just regular episodes back in the day. I understand that part. I'm not trying to dissect the show outside of where it's created and where it's intended to be aired, but I would say the premise of the show, this is kind of the problem we have with all the chuddy people here on YouTube, is that older people thinking that they own media, they own something, and that they are owed something, they're entitled to something, and they deserve something because they enjoyed something as a kid, and now they're adults, and those things should only cater to them and no one else. And when something new comes along that is for a newer generation, they blast that too and shoot it down and talk about how their stuff is better than the new stuff. And this isn't new. When I was growing up, this is what my parents said about music and movies and TV shows. And back in my day, music was real music and stuff like that. It isn't new. The only difference now is that this same boomer mentality has sort of permeated culture, because we have a bunch
Yeah.
of older people, my age and older, who instead of enjoying new things and ushering in these new things that are good and fun and exciting, we now use these platforms to gatekeep and tell people that new things are bad because our things are better. But now there's an incentive to do that. Now there's monetization to do that. Now there's grifting, there's merch you can sell. So all of those old men yelling at the clouds that would have existed like when I was younger, and you could ignore them, you can't now because they have a megaphone and a podcast. You know what I mean? So that's where we are. Like they're claiming ownership over something that they do not own. None of us own anything. We are guests in all of these things. So to act like we own something is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well,
Absolutely.
not just that, but like you were saying about people's parents saying, "Oh, everything now is awful." The other thing about it is the way we grow, the way we age has changed. The culture has changed, because it wasn't like if you grew up in the 50s and the 60s and the sort of TV shows you were watching, that ended.
Yeah.
And then never came back. Whereas now, these franchises continue and continue. So this series or this iteration of Doctor Who is already 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. This is
That's
wild
for-
to think about.
Yeah,
Because I
and
remember
that's-
when it came out.
And that's forgetting all the stuff that came out in sort of from 63
Yeah,
onwards.
there's like 25 or 26 seasons from William Hartnell till Sylvester McCoy, I want to say, something like that. Yeah, there is so much Doctor Who out there.
So, I guarantee that the people who were around for the original run, whatever stage they stepped in, they probably had exactly the same issues with this Doctor Who when it started with Christopher Eccleston. Because media just goes on now. I mean, really, we should have all grown out of all the things that we currently like, because we should have grown up, but we didn't. Our generation and probably the generation before us have had the opportunity to not grow up. So with people like Az and Gary, who are in their 50s and who were like in their mid to late 20s when this show came back, complaining about it, they were watching a kids show back then.
Yeah. So I want to address like a cultural thing here with this. Well, first I want to comment to this Dave unaddressed. I think it's okay to totally not vibe with something. If you're not happy with a TV show or a movie or something, you can walk away from it. I think it's unhealthy to continue to complain about something if clearly it's not something you like. I don't like sports, so I never talk about sports.
Also to address Dave's comment, the past 2 seasons of Doctor Who, I think there have been strong individual episodes, but the issue with the 2 seasons have been kind of my issue with Russell T Davies when he was showrunner back in the day. Outside of his first season, like he has good, strong individual episodes, but usually it comes together and culminates and doesn't really, like it feels like this big event, but it doesn't really feel particularly earned. It just, how he does the big arcs don't really work for me.
And I feel like that's been exposed more in these last 2 series because they're shorter series, because they're only 8 episodes as opposed to the 12.
So they really
16.
depend on that arc. And honestly, I would love more filler episodes. I want a 20 episode season of Doctor Who where there's just tons of just random adventures. I mean,
but the idea of like the 50-year-old guys, the man baby mentality, like I want to address socially how that's affected people in my circle growing up. So in my area in particular, and this is going to be all anecdotal, but I think it does speak to some spaces outside of here. A lot of people in that boomer generation did not retire or move away from work and allow jobs to open up for people from Gen X. So Gen X were perpetually children because there weren't a lot of spaces. And I don't mean like there aren't people that didn't get jobs. I mean like just in general. Like my partner worked at a nonprofit for probably 18 years up until he left the job. But while he was there, there was a woman who was the director of the nonprofit. And she was in her 70s. And she kept saying, I'm going to retire next year. I'm going to retire next year. And he was next in line for that job. And so he went almost 12 years with this person saying they were going to retire. and they just didn't want to do it because they came from a generation where working was the only thing they ever was told was valuable. So they didn't want to walk away from it. So it just got to the point where he realized, I'm never going to get a promotion in this company, this nonprofit or whatever, because she's never going to retire. And that's not like an isolated story. That's a story with a lot of people from that age demographic where they can still to this day, some of them are working in some capacity. And what's happening is, instead of retiring and living happily with margaritas somewhere, you're preventing people from my generation moving up that ladder to have better jobs. So we've had to hustle. We've had to diversify. This entire hustle culture thing sort of stemmed from boomers keeping their jobs longer than they should. Now, I want to point out, that's also a product of capitalism in our country and the way things are, because some of them have to work because they can't retire. So shit rolls downhill. So that's where we are with a lot of this. Like these guys that feel like they're perpetually stuck as teenagers has a lot to do with the fact that we don't have a system in place to allow them to grow up and have the jobs they need and to have the stability they need. So this is what we end up with. So I know that's not 100% the driving force behind all of this, but I do believe it's a big factor in why there's so many people in like the 45 to 65 range that are doing this kind of stuff and feeling this way about media they grew up with. I think it really is a big part of it.
So quick update. Capitalism is the root of all problems.
Well, funny enough, it sort of triggered something in me, because what we've seen as well recently over the last 30 years is companies have got a lot better at marketing kids stuff to adults.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And well, marketing to everybody. So computer games were once the sort of domain of children. Adults would enjoy them, but certainly not to the level that they are now. And now computer games are not for kids anymore.
Right.
TV is not for kids anymore. Films are not for kids anymore.
I would say the gaming market is a prime example of what you're talking about, how it's such the biggest industry in the world in terms of making money. And a lot of that has to do with selling products to adults.
Well, just look at
adults.
the rating system for films now. There's very few films that come up with the more adult ratings.
Yeah.
Because they're marketing in the middle.
I mean, there's a reason why PG-13 is probably the most popular rating in the United States.
It's that one that's like, it's just enough for adults to like think it's going to be, heavy, but it's enough for kids to be desensitized to some of the stuff that's happening.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
There is a super chat. I don't know whose channel that is. It's not mine.
I'm pretty sure it's yours because it's addressed to you.
Is it mine? Doesn't show up on my channel. No, it's not mine.
Oh.
But it's okay.
Well, he's asking you.
Yes, yeah. It might be Dane's if it's not yours, which is fine. Dane hadn't been monetizing forever, so good on him. Eric, how do you think that older viewer rejection to do with evergreen characters and sliding timelines that don't allow characters to age and force new ones to struggle? I don't know. Like, I don't have a big opinion on this one. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? Like, this is...
I mean... I don't know. Like, for the most part, characters have... Like especially comic book characters just don't fucking age.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I would say in like live action media, it's a little bit more difficult unless you have someone running around at like 75 years old.
Although it's worth noting with the Doctor, they did develop that loophole when William Hartnell left.
Well, regeneration,
you can only just regenerate them.
The other great British institution, James Bond, did it without that. So
that is true, and that was an ongoing timeline from Sean Connery until Pierce Brosnan. It didn't reboot until Daniel Craig. And
really,
I actually think that this also, like, depending on what franchise you're talking about, is why we end up with like, oh, that character can only be played by this one type of person, because they just end up being that same person over and over and over again. James Bond is a good example. Like, the fact that even though James Bond is more of a title that's passed along, they don't believe that anyone else could play James Bond other than a very specific kind of person. Like a certain aged white guy is the only person that can play James Bond.
And
even in the way he's played as well, because Timothy Dalton was largely rejected by the audience for being not Bond enough, despite the fact that he played him the same way as Daniel Craig. But they sort of had to engineer this. They had to engineer this sort of reboot in order to sell Daniel Craig's Bond to the audience. So yeah,
Hmm.
and
Well, I also feel like Timothy Dalton was ahead of his time because I do feel like if something like License to Kill came out a bit more in the 90s, it probably won't have been more accepted. As it was just like, oh, this is too gritty. But then we get to Daniel Craig, which is way grittier than even License to Kill. And yeah, and then it's also, I also want to bring back to the Doctor Who thing, because obviously a lot of the rejection of this is because now we have a black doctor, who I don't even know if this is a spoiler anymore, because it was spoiled for me before I even saw the fucking episode. Like the instant it happened, BBC was broadcasting it.
I saw it as a spoiler too immediately. Yeah,
Shooty's been regenerated into Billy Piper,
right.
And I will say I'm a little disappointed simply because I thought Shooty was doing a great job. I want to see him do more.
But it's also tough for me because I like Billy, so it's like I
I
do.
I like Billy as well,
you know what I mean?
although I'm not sure how she'll work as the Doctor, because it's a different character. So it's like, that's strange. I'm sure there'll be some sort of explanation for that, but I don't know. I was hoping for more from Shooty, but maybe they'll think of a way to bring him back in some manner. They did have Jodie in the last episode, so
it really also depends on whether Shooty wants to jump back into the fire, because that's kind of what
that
would
is
happen,
true.
You know what I mean? Like,
he has been getting, I'm sure, tons of online harassment over it, which is
I don't think that's
completely
why,
fucking unjustified.
I don't think that's why he left, though. I think they cast him at the exact wrong time for him where he was in his career.
yeah,
Because he'd already made Barbie, I think.
yeah.
But that wasn't out. And so between him being cast and the show being on air, Barbie came out, his star rose, and his star's rising. And he didn't know that. If that film had flopped, he would have probably carried on with Doctor Who.
That's the same thing that sort of happened with Jennifer Lawrence with the X-Men franchise.
Yeah.
Where they cast her as a relatively sort of unknown at the time with Mystique, and then she got super popular, and so in order to justify keeping her on, she became the lead of almost every movie after her first appearance.
And that was frustrating as an X-Men fan. It's like, dude, I like Mystique, but she is not a lead character in X-Men. So just please stop.
Your most stealthy character is not the one you need to be the face of, like, all mutants, because that just doesn't seem like it even makes sense. But that would go down another rabbit hole. My point was that, like, agreeing with Ryan, I can understand that, like, once somebody picks up and they start to get a little more traction in Hollywood and in the film and TV industry, it's harder to keep them around. So,
absolutely.
I mean, that was the good thing. That was
we got. I pulled up some. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say that was the good thing about David Tennant, because he'd already had quite an established career, but quite low level, and so he knew what he was getting himself in for before going in.
But I pulled up a couple of Chud reactions to this. I guess we can go over Gary's real fast, because it's just him laughing. R.I.P. Doctor Who. Very thoughtful, very nuanced. I like this take. It makes you think. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say fuck Gary.
yeah.
And then Disparo wrote a small essay on it. Go ahead.
Well, he's an idiot. Everything he's said about that. He's an idiot and pure grifter. But what's interesting about the Gary thing is that, all right, he's complained that Star Wars is dead for years, and whatever. So they start making Star Wars. With Doctor Who's always continued. So does he want it to die? He doesn't want it to come back in his version of it, which is like the totally unwoke version of it, from 2005, where there was no mention of gayness or bisexuality in other characters in the show, or
I mean, it's not like Christopher
stuff.
Eccleston had a same-sex kiss or anything.
No.
That'd be insane, right?
So does he want it to die? Does he want it to go back to his idealized version of it, which is idealized? It just doesn't make any sense. But I mean, a Disparo is, to be honest, I'm sick of these people not calling themselves propagandists, which is what they are. Especially after watching Eric's video about Critical Drinker covering the Fantastic Four trailer again.
I also want to point out the word that they use quite often, and I think Dane has covered this before. When you call something evil, you have to be very careful, because unless you actually mean what that, or you intend for what that means, it's a very what am I saying here? Inflammatory word to use, because evil puts into place like the idea that something is unchangeable, that it's fundamentally and objectively bad. And so when he says, fails because of he lectures evil ideas made of bile and spite at the audience. That's just that's a garbage statement. It's a garbage
I watched
statement.
these 2 seasons. I have my criticisms, but evil ideas made of bile? What the fuck are you watching?
Because let's think about what those evil ideas are.
Like,
what are those evil ideas, right?
Yeah.
What are those things? Are we talking about diversity? Are we talking about queer people? Are we talking about women that are outside of the kitchen doing things? Like, those are evil ideas? Do you not realize that makes the people that the show is platforming targets of online harassment?
Well,
I mean, if we're talking about women in non-traditional, real quick, Ryan, I just want to get this out.
Yeah.
If we're talking about women in non-traditional roles, like frequently the doctor's not really a fighter. Frequently his companions would fight. Frequently in the classic show, his companion, sometimes it's man, sometimes it's a woman, and sometimes they'd have a woman fighter. That's been part of Doctor Who for a while. So making up this fictional world where Doctor Who was always traditional is bizarre. I mean,
how would they react to a character like Leela now? It's just...
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we had a super chat here on my channel that says Jack Harkness was totally not gay / sarcasm. I mean, Captain Jack was one of the most sexual characters that's ever existed on Doctor Who.
Not just that, I think people forget that his whole sort of his character was that he came from a time where sexuality was entirely fluid. There was no such thing as gay, straight, or bi. You just
to be honest, that would be a utopian world. Like, if we came from a place where people could just be with who they care about and they don't have to worry about society, that would be perfect. But that's not where we are. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
No.
But, Bob, you're lagging a little bit, by the way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm yes.
Because you're hosting. And the other thing is, while he says there about while saying that traditional English culture there's no such thing as traditional English culture. And I'm fed up of English people on the right trying to sell that to Americans, because we're a country that is been inhabited for thousands of years, and each part of those cultures that have come in left their mark and either left or integrated. There's no such thing as traditional English culture. Not only that, it's a British show, and by saying traditional English culture, what he's saying is that it's English and not Scottish, which eliminates the actors who are Scottish.
Oh, I didn't think about that. You're right.
Shooty.
I didn't think about that either.
Sylvester McCoy, all the Welsh people who make the show, including Russell T Davies. It's nothing to do with traditional English culture, because the ideas that people have in their heads of traditional English cultures never existed.
It's fucking crazy. I also want to point out that last line. So they've moved beyond it's bad writing, right? They've moved beyond that with this last line.
Yeah.
It's his morals and values that repulse the audience, not the method by which they are told. So now the veil is down.
Oh my God.
Remember a couple years ago when we said that the writing, like the complaints about writing and scripts and acting were all just smoke and mirrors? We're getting to the point now, like I said, because I am always right about this, they can't hide it anymore because that excuse has ran out of fuel. It doesn't have the traction it had anymore. So now it's like, we're just going to start saying what we meant all along, which is that they don't like diversity. They don't like black people. They don't like women. They don't like queer people. They don't like trans people. They don't like different people in general. They're ableist. They're all of the is things that they could be. They're saying they are now because they can no longer hide behind bad writing. So it's morals and values, AKA he believes everybody should be treated with respect. Now, I'm not saying that RTD is the most prolific deliverer of stories or whatever. But the idea that he's open to telling stories that don't surround and coddle the fragility of some of these guys' masculinity, at least is a step in the right direction. Because it's not about telling you there's something wrong with that. It's about allowing people the opportunity to tell stories that are not that. It's like you're setting another chair at the table. You know what I mean?
I hate to tell this to people like Desparo, but if you are offended because there's a black person on screen or a woman of color or anything like that, if that offends you, if you think that's a threat to your masculinity, that's a you problem, man. You got to work on you.
It's internalized.
Bizarre. And then
this again goes back to your video on the Critical Drinkers Fantastic Four thing. At no point does he talk about how the finale might be badly written, just that it's about women.
Right. The same thing that Grace Randolph said, which is what he used her clip, and I'm like, this clip gives no context whatsoever. None.
Listen, I do not have the highest opinion of Grace Randolph at all, but
he doesn't either. He says that he uses it because it agrees with his point of view.
Right. So she facilitated the point that he needed to make the video. That's why she was there.
Yeah. She's a useful idiot.
Yeah. But also, you're still lagging, Bob, by the way, by like 5 seconds.
I know. I'm not sure what to do about it.
But look, the whole thing about Grace Randolph, and this is the other thing, he called her a Marvel shill. She's not a Marvel shill. Marvel fired her back in the 2010s when she was a host of one of their shows, and there was bad blood between them, but she realized that Marvel at that point, because the MCU was really taking off, was much too big to fight. So she backed off and kind of played coy with it. But she has always been sort of snarky and sort of like backhanded complimenting Marvel over the years because she's not a Marvel shill. So the fact that he called her a Marvel shill doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
There is a super chat. Whose channel is that? Might be yours, Bob. It's from Jack.
Ooh. I think there should be a grifter as a companion where the whole series he learns to become a better person. Listen, he's not a companion, but there is a grifter recurring character in this last season. The last 2 episodes with him didn't thrill me, but essentially they set up this character who runs a podcast where he just does outrage bait about the Doctor and Unit and how they're all lying to everybody. And he does it purely for outrage clicks, and the Doctor calls him out for it, and it's just like calling out the grifters essentially, which is pretty it's probably the best episode of the season. I recommend checking it out.
And the interesting thing about that is, again, it's like all the talk about Andor and Daredevil being too heavy-handed in their Trump metaphors, which weren't actually Trump metaphors. If you see yourself in that character, then that just means you're a conspiracy nut. If you think that they're talking about you as an online grifter, you recognize that you are, in fact, an online grifter.
Yes, exactly. If you see the Doctor essentially calling you out for doing outrage bait, and you're offended by that, what does that say about you?
Well, I also want to point out that because Sketchy brings up the whole Jodie Whittaker thing, Doctor Who is one of their current evergreen topics, sort of like Star Wars and Marvel and whatever. They just all they have to do is make a few negative videos about it a month, and they'll hit their quota. You know what I mean? So.
And Doctor Who is perfect for it because it has been going for so long, and because it's a continuing series. It's not like anything else in the sort of grifter sphere, which might come and go. And they can't be pleased because they brought back David Tennant and they complained that they're just trying to capture the old magic, even though for the past 3 or 4 years they've been complaining that it should have gone back to how it was.
Right.
You're absolutely right. It's a good one for them. It's not good because it's not very popular outside of the fandom. Like Star Wars captures more people. Marvel captures more people, but it is good for them because it's evergreen. Yeah,
and I think it pulls in that UK audience that they don't normally get for everything. So I think that's another reason. Sort of like why I think they talk about Harry Potter. I think they feel like that touches the same audience, but I would argue Harry Potter is a worldwide brand. But I think they still talk about it in the way that it's like a UK only type film franchise.
That's what's so fascinating about the Critical Drinker. I mean, if you meet any Scots person at any time, they are the most proud of Scotland, but he downplays that in order to appeal to an American audience. Whenever he sort of refers to himself as part of a community, I always get the sense that he's either desperate to be American or desperate to just appeal to Americans, rather than sort of be himself. It's a cultural thing that you notice over here, that he's desperate to be like his book series. It's all, why make the guy a member of the CIA? Why make the British spy?
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I mean, either he could be a British spy, but then I guess it's a bit like James Bond, or just make him a spy in a fictional organization.
We have a super chat from Jack.
All right, so here's something I wanted. Oh, hey, another one. Okay,
that was another one. Yeah. When Jodie appeared in the reality war, the people in the theater cheer. Lag is so funny. So funny. You go ahead, Bob.
Yes. Okay, when Jodie appeared in Reality War, the people in the theater cheered in shock and joy. Just shows that she definitely was beloved by most fans. So I'll admit I haven't seen any of Jodie Whittaker yet. That's kind of like the hole in my Doctor Who watching of the new one, especially. I haven't seen the last couple years of Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker.
What I would say,
I liked her performance in Reality War.
What I would say about Jodie Whittaker is her series isn't great, but not because of her. I don't think it's particularly. But then, from what I understand, certainly during the first series, Chris Chibnall managed to keep that show running through COVID by being extremely strict, and it was a hellish show to shoot, and they couldn't do all the things they wanted to do with it. But yeah, I don't, certainly I sort of tuned out after the first season because I found it a little tiresome. But I think she was great, and I think that's why the audience were happy to see her, because I think she didn't quite get the run she deserved.
I mean, it sounds kind of like Ncuti Gatwa right now, because I think his performance I thought was great. He did his own take on Doctor Who, which all actors do, but he did it like there was more emotion to it, and I really liked how he did it. But yeah, not the best 2 seasons of Doctor Who by a decent margin. But here's a story, and hopefully my lag isn't too bad. Here's a story I kind of wanted to go over and just kind of get what your guys' thoughts are, because it's mainly the framing that frustrates me, even if it's semi-true. So Thunderbolts hits milestone as second lowest earning MCU film. So keep in mind, this is what they've done is told this together. And one thing he does that I think is interesting is he does not include the Incredible Hulk because he thinks it's kind of cheating. It's really confusing because Incredible Hulk is very much an MCU movie. It's that does count. But it also it earned quite a bit more than Marvel's, which would be the lowest earning. Like, I think it's kind of in the same situation as Captain America Brave New World, where it's not going to be like gangbusters, but it looks like it's probably in the running to be in the black still. And plus, honestly, I think this movie's going to do really well on digital, because once more people start seeing it, this, like Thunderbolts, guys, if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, really fucking good movie. Check it out. But what are you guys' thoughts on this?
It's really weird to leave Incredible Hulk out because it's definitely an MCU film. I don't know why you would consider it cheating to include it. It's also, I mean, it's factually accurate to call it the third lowest MCU film, but then you still need to look at budgets for this sort of thing. You've got to look at audience trends as well. It's a pretty useless tag to put on it.
Yeah.
I would say the fact that it's Forbes kind of explains why they're focused on the finance part of this, because
It's true.
I don't think that the financial aspect of this movie means a lot. I think the movie, like critically and the fan reception for this movie has been higher than a lot of the MCU movies we've had in recent years. So the movie isn't a bad movie. So we have to like set up the fact that subjectively people have responded positively to this film. So it's not a question of quality. So what is it? If you look at the movies right now, the top 7 movies in 2025, with the exception of Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch, have massively underperformed in terms of like Hollywood numbers. We're talking about stuff like Brave New World, Thunderbolts, which both sit at 3 and 4 right now. They're still in the top 5 of 2025.
Isn't Thunderbolts the 4th biggest movie of the year so
Yeah,
far?
yeah, it's still there. You have like stuff like Sinners, which overperformed, which is great for Sinners. That overperformed.
Great movie.
But overall, like we haven't seen these big box office numbers from Mission Impossible failed spectacularly. Like that, it's a $400 million movie that is like number 6, I think. And I don't think it's going to move up. I think it's just going to drop down because I think we got stuff coming out this year that's going to place higher than that.
I don't know what's coming out over the next couple of weeks, but I think it's currently at like 3, 5, 6, and so it'll probably just about make its budget back.
Yeah,
but just on production budget.
But if we look at like the upcoming movies, we have some big stuff coming out that's gonna do well in the box office. It's gonna push a lot of these things back. Like Jurassic World, definitely gonna do really well. Lilo and Stitch is definitely gonna make $1 billion. It's sitting at number 2 now. It's probably gonna beat Minecraft in terms of sales. If I'm being honest here, we still have Superman coming out. I'm assuming Superman will probably do better than these 2 movies. Just guessing it will, because it's James Gunn. So I think it'll do probably pretty solid.
Definitely a bigger IP. No,
I think Fantastic Four would do better than these 2 movies.
Yeah,
personally.
well, not only that, but I think this one particularly, the marketing made it clear it wasn't for kids. I think.
Right.
I think it made it clear.
That's a good point, Ryan. I brought that up in my stream.
I didn't even
said
think about that. Yeah.
The top 2 movies of the year are both kids' movies or family movies. This one isn't. Superman and Fantastic Four are both marketed as a family movie. And family movies make more money because more people come out and buy tickets because they bring their kids and stuff like that. So there's more money in that. These movies, these more mature movies, typically that skew closer to that rated R mark but don't cross into that rated R mark, are not going to make as much money. They're just not. And let's be honest here, it's not just Marvel. Again, we're looking across the board. Hollywood as an industry is suffering for a lot of different reasons. Everything from AI to like people not going out and consuming movies the way they did, to streaming taking over, pulling in some movies. They just put I don't know if you saw it, but the trailer for Del Toro's Frankenstein looks absolutely fucking incredible. And that's a Netflix
I have not seen
movie.
the trailer yet.
It's a Netflix movie.
Is it Netflix?
It's a Netflix film, yeah.
Oh my god, I saw Del Toro's name for it. Nice.
Karate Kid Legends, that's another one that's going to underperform. There's a lot of things that are underperforming because I believe it's not just get woke, go broke, because we have movies that aren't doing that. So it's a problem that needs to be addressed. Like this kind of stuff without any sort of deeper dive or some sort of solution from analysts just feeds into the media illiteracy that we're dealing with right now when it comes to films. Thunderbolts is a good movie, right? It's a good movie.
Yes.
Is it a $1 billion movie? No, I don't think so. Should it have made north of 500 million based on like the past Marvel movies? Yes. So if we're talking about quality, if quality isn't pulling people back out to theaters, then what's happening? Is it a shift in culture? Are people just not going to movies as much because the economy fucking sucks? Possibly, maybe. They're spending their money with their family. They want to take their kids out. So they're going to like the kids movies, the family movies. Maybe it's time for Marvel to really go all in on bringing back that dynamic of movies that appeal to a slightly younger demographic.
I mean, maybe movies that skew older will start focusing a bit more on a digital release. Because, I mean, I can't tell you number of movies over the past few years don't do all that great at the box office. Released to digital, massive hit. That story happened.
This is
over and
another
over
thing.
again.
People know these movies will be on streaming in a few weeks, and viewers on the budget will probably wait. I've said that, especially individual viewers. That's a big thing. An individual person who's not going out with friends or not being social about going to the movies can just wait, especially if they don't care about spoilers. If the era of spoilers is over, then there's no incentive to go and see these movies on opening weekends unless you're a diehard fan. Now, I go and see all these movies on opening weekends because I want to support them. I want to support the art form, right? I want to support things I love.
That's why I started the podcast. So I just
a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't do it, and you know.
Well, I think what is interesting about this year in particular is that it's breaking all of these narratives that the chuds are trying to prop up, and each one of them is crumbling. So, despite this box office year not being great, currently it's better than last year.
Yeah.
For this time last year, so the box office has improved on 2024. So that's one thing. It's not a constant decline. It was a constant increase since COVID, a slight decline last year, and it's back up again this year. So that's one thing. The other thing is Sinners, which you talked about. It's yes, it's an original movie, but it has everything about it. Other than that, is everything that these chuds have been saying the audience doesn't want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they largely ignored it. I think the ones that did cover it stuck it on their backup channels. They didn't put it on their main channels. So.
Yeah, Critical Drinker did a backup channel, and Nerdrotic essentially in one of his videos said, "I saw Sinners and I liked it," and that's all he said about it.
And as well, the top two, Minecraft, they should hate that. They should be rallying against it because it's exactly the type of corporate
slop. It's garbage. It's a product placement movie. So
and Lilo and Stitch, they should also hate because after Snow White came out, they said Disney is done with live action remakes. They make one that he's probably going to make $1 billion.
And it's a diverse one. It's not one of their normal like white princesses. You know what I mean?
And Sean Thomas here, thank you for the super chat. Gen Xer here. I remember when movies would take months to get to rental, a year to get cable, and now they come to streaming in weeks. Yeah. I remember waiting for movies.
Standard formula, yeah.
I remember when most movies. God, I'm gonna show my age here. Most movies would hit the rental market way before they would hit the home video market. So essentially, you can get it on rental for a month or two, and then it drops down in price, and you can get it at Video Store for like.
I remember if you rented a movie for on VHS, it's going way back, from like one of these rental places, it cost them $100 a tape to have those.
Yeah,
because they were not market ready. They were only being sold to like the suppliers of those video stores.
And I think the standard pattern was 6 months to rental, 9 months to home video, a year to cable, and then 2 years to broadcast television.
Yeah. Let me explain though why, and pull up Sean's comment here though, the $5 super chat. Why it's happening. So the industry is in a self-fulfilling downward spiral with this. So I looked it up when I did a deep dive into this. Movies make on the low end an additional $30 million to their box office based on the early access VODs, because that counts towards box office because they're selling you an early access ticket to a movie that's in theaters. So on the low end they make 30 million. On the high end they can make upwards of 50 million. So what they're looking at is they're saying, hey, our movie is just shy of making its budget back in theaters. If we rush it out to VOD and we capture that market right now while we're still putting advertising out for this movie, we can recoup at least 30 to 50 million on this. So if a movie is short 40 million to get their budget back, a studio is going to rush it out and say, we're just going to take the hit and put it out on streaming. But then what happens is that is like Sean is saying here, train the audience like a ringing a bell for a dog, right? Mm-hmm. Train the audience that you don't have to go see it right away, because if you don't see it and your friends don't see it, it won't make a lot of money and the studio will rush it out to streaming and you can buy it for $20.
Yeah.
And you and 20 of your friends can sit around and pay $1 each to watch the movie in your theater that you set up during COVID, because everybody did this. There was a big boom in home theaters that got put up during COVID. We renovated our space to watch movies here when COVID was happening. A lot of people did that. So a lot of people have really nice setups for watching movies at home now because of that. So it's all been this like sort of self-fulfilling cycle of shit from Hollywood. What they have to do is they have to put their foot down and eat some of these losses for a couple of years, because that's the only way you're going to get people back to like, I need to go see it in theaters and wait 90 days before it comes out on streaming.
The home viewing market used to be
Either
tiny.
that or rework it so they make their money on streaming. Rework it.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if they can. I don't know if it's profitable enough to do that.
Yeah,
the
I don't
way
know.
It all works. But I mean, yeah, the home viewing market used to be tiny. Beyond, I don't know what rental was like, but to buy a video or DVD, they made pennies off it basically. So any film that was a complete flop in the cinema and did really well or made its budget back on home video was noteworthy.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is like the Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic acting like this movie is a failure because all they have are box office numbers, right? I need to make this very clear.
Yeah.
Anybody that stumbles upon this video or anybody that's in here watching this now, we don't know for sure how much money a movie has made or lost because there's so many different moving parts to the success of a movie. Let's just start out with merchandising. Merchandising, t-shirts, hats, things like that, popcorn buckets, all of these things feed into that cost for the movie. That's all part of that plan. Toys, if you're making toys to go out, they factor into that as well, right? But outside of that, there's subsidies, there's tax incentives. You don't know how much money they're saving, depending on where they're filming. Sometimes they can save an upwards of like $25 million in tax subsidies and incentives for filming in certain places that comes off the top end of that budget. Not only that, companies like Harley Davidson have spent almost 70 to 80 million dollars on movies to get their products in the movies, which that again takes away from the overall budget of a movie. This is something the Chuds will never fucking talk about. Lastly, things like Burger King, Pizza Hut, all these places. When you see these meals come out, like where they have like these movies plastered on the side of their kids' meals or the Venom pizza that Australia made or whatever, guess what? Marvel and these companies don't pay those places to do this. They pay Marvel for the licensing to carry those things. They pay Marvel for that. They pay for those characters. That is money that goes directly into the making of these movies and these TV shows. None of that is ever covered or discussed. Plus, on top of that, there's NDAs. Sometimes actors take less money. If their normal like fee is $50 million in a movie, like someone like Robert Downey Jr. or something, they could take a cut and take a back end on like ticket sales or something like that if they think they can make more money that way. It really just depends. But all of that is stuff that's covered in contracts that we have no idea on. So when they just look at these raw box office numbers and go, oh, X plus X equals this, and that means it's a flop, they have no idea what they're talking about. We can't even determine that. All we can look at is if it makes back its budget. That is the only number we can look at and know for certain that that is the number based on what they're telling us, because even then we're going on what the studio tells us. If the studio says it costs $200 million, okay, that's all we know. We don't know anything else. Any of the other things I've talked about, we have no idea about. So these guys do this kind of outrage stuff because it's the only number they have and they can just run with it. I actually wish studios would stop telling us how much movies cost.
I mean, I think they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's I was going to say, I think it's interesting how when there's an outrage angle, but it needs to be nuanced, they'll suddenly get super fucking nuanced and on point and studying all the details. But when, it's a broad point that just generally get outraged and nuance just, clouds it, they will just ignore the nuance in a heartbeat. 9 times out of 10 it's ignoring the nuance. But yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
The other big thing is any reviewer that quotes marketing as part of the budget doesn't know what they're talking about, because the studio doesn't release how much it paid for marketing for each individual film. It's an overall marketing budget that is split up. So smaller films, a film that costs like, I don't know, say 40 million, the marketing budget for that probably is 40 million. A film that costs 200 million, they don't spend 200 million. The only figures I ever found were that Disney normally, on average, and that's an important thing to remember, on average, spends about 125 million on marketing per film, because it was unusual that they had spent more marketing Endgame. and obviously that paid dividends for them. So yeah, don't believe anybody that quotes marketing.
Well, I mean, the thing about marketing too, a thing I always like to bring up is like, how much do you think Disney pays to put an advertisement on ABC? Because they're putting money in their own pocket. Disney owns ABC. They can just advertise there for free.
I just
There's
did a
all
little
types
digging.
of stuff like that. Yeah.
I just did a little digging because one of the things that I remember reading years ago is that large things like these movies that cost, you know, 200 million to make or whatever, the companies automatically assume marketing as a loss. They already assume that's going to be a loss because they're looking at it long term. Like, this could end up being $1 billion movie, but we're going to assume that we're not going to make this money back because it's just something we have to do. Like, in the industry I work in the club business or whatever, you just assume that printing things to put out on tables and stuff like that is a loss. You don't really factor that in at the end. You can estimate and guesstimate and go, oh, well, it cost $50 to make those flyers, and we ended up doing 200, so we didn't have to eat that $50 or whatever. But you always operate it as a loss, especially in larger profile movies like the ones they're making. And they're also saying that marketing is in partnerships is something we don't know about. So when they go like, oh, it's a $200 million movie, so it's $100 in marketing, they don't know that because they don't know how much of that marketing is a company that said, hey, we will market cross-promote with you, and we're not going to charge you anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if the two companies decide that it's mutually beneficial for them to just advertise each other, like, hey, Dr. Pepper, we've decided we're going to help promote your movie for free if you stick a Dr. Pepper can in your film. That's millions of dollars that are not going to get exchanged in hands because they've decided it's mutually beneficial for them.
And a dog wearing sunglasses. I just want to bring up this comment because this is a logic they use all the time. Box office bomb, whether it's a flop, no matter how much money it makes, doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
No,
like,
but that's
we
the
have
other
so
thing.
Many examples, yeah.
And you know what? Dog wearing sunglasses, you're a very smart dog. Let me tell you. So, the thing is, if they're going to argue quality over money, which is the thing that they sort of talk about quite often, a movie like Thunderbolts that they're trying so hard to paint as a bad film actually speaks to what they've been asking for. It is a movie that does everything that they wanted it to do from Marvel. And instead of like lifting that up and going, hey, this movie underperformed, but it's because Marvel has fucked the fans over so much they didn't go out and support it, which is an angle they could have approached. They've doubled down on like this concept of feminism and, you know, treating white people bad and all these weird conspiracy, you know, these conspiracy theory concepts and stuff like that. Instead of just moving with the idea that maybe Marvel has lost a little bit of faith in the fans. And I even said that in my video that, yes, there is some sort of like disconnect between Marvel and a portion of the fandom that I think has more to do with like release schedules and shifting things around and not fulfilling some of the things. Like Shang-Chi 2, a lot of people have been waiting for that, and they haven't done anything with that character. Doctor Strange 3, where's that movie at? They've taken forever on that one. There's a lot of characters they've just forgotten about. And I think that's affected their audience as well. So I don't think it's just the fact that, diversity is bad. I think they've kind of burned bridges with other people that have enjoyed their content. Like, I, for one, feel like they could have done even more with some of these characters over the years, and they've dropped the ball on it. We went a whole year without any MCU movies. We had Deadpool and Wolverine. We had a whole year with nothing. No MCU projects.
I mean,
except for
technically,
Agatha.
Deadpool and Wolverine is a MCU property, but like
I would say it's
barely
more of
about
a
the
Fox
MCU.
era property.
That
Than
was
MCU
pretty
property.
much my
Like,
argument. Yeah,
but
it's MCU adjacent. And
yeah. But I mean, like, in the sense that we went through a year of COVID where nothing was coming out, to another year recently where nothing was coming out due to the writer's strike and the director's strike and all of that. So we had there's been 2 years in the last 5 years, 6 years, where Marvel just didn't do anything movie-wise. And that's a big deal considering they were doing 3 movies a year every year for 12 years. So there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to unpack. But it's much easier for them to tell a lot of the brain dead people in their audience that diversity is bad and that's why everything sucks.
yeah. Yes, Thunderbolts sucked and bombed because Yelena was the lead, even though Florence Pugh did a great job and was an engaging character. Okay. I'm not even sure most of these guys even saw the movie, but...
No, you're probably right.
Okay, so that's all I have on the agenda. Anything you guys want to cover?
I mean, I could probably find something. Hold on. I have bookmarks on Twitter. I bookmark stuff that I never make videos about, but
I need to bookmark more stuff because I'm.
I've got it's a habit for me. I just anything I see now, I'm like I'm gonna bookmark it.
I'm not on Twitter that often, but God, I get the chud notifications on my phone still. Thank you, Elon. Thank you.
Did you see? So this one was interesting. I didn't make a video about this, but why not? Let's talk about this. Let me pull it up on the screen.
Ooh.
This is sort of the sentiment about The Last of Us season 2 right now, and I don't really understand it. Go woke, go broke.
I'm a little confused. Listen, I have my issues with the last season. There's some.
Oh, I do too. But it has
meh
nothing to do with
episodes,
wokeness. Like it
No.
has nothing to do with that at all. But it says here, this is from Film Buzzer, which I don't know what this is.
I've never even
The
heard
Last
of
of Us lost half of its audience in just one season. And then Freckled Liberty here, who has 109. See, this is what I mean. Twitter. This is
my
why Twitter's
God.
such a bad idea. 109.2 thousand followers. So it's go woke, go broke. Did they forget episode 3 of season 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
An
weird
entire
that
episode dedicated to a gay love story?
that they all hated and yet have completely forgotten about. And
What about
also-
the lesbian episode that season? There was also one of those. So-
Also, let's consider the fact that like they all want to get offended over what happened with Joel, even though it made sense in the storyline. It was also like the highest rated episode of this last season, and they handled it really well. Even knowing what was coming, I was still tearing up watching that scene. I was like, oh.
Also,
shit.
shouldn't they be happy because they all hate Pedro Pascal
Right.
now anyway?
right.
Well, they hate Belle Ramsey too. so-
Well, but they also said that Pedro is the reason why the show sucks is because he was killed off, but also he's in too many things, and that's why everything else sucks.
it's almost like they're wildly inconsistent.
Right. So this was funny here. Shiloh says, Grok, is this true, right? The claim that Last of Us lost half its audience from season 1 to season 2 is misleading. Total viewership grew, with season 2 averaging 37 million viewers
my
per episode
God.
compared to 32 million for season 1, including streaming. However, the season 2 finale had 3.7 million live viewers, a 55% drop from season 1's finale. This could be due to narrative choices like Joel's death, the Memorial Day weekend airing, which I think that actually had a lot to do with it. Some blame woke content, but the show follows the game's diverse themes and overall viewership suggests it remains popular. The drop in live viewers doesn't mean the audiences have. So it's just, this is what I mean with like brain rot stuff, is that it's like they make up things because there is no reality where what they're saying is true.
No. Well, go woke,
So-
go broke is garbage to begin with. So
But I thought about this the other day. Maybe you guys can help me on this one. So Get Woke, Go Broke assumes that studios are out here making content for companies like for DEIA and ESG scores and things like that. It
yeah,
assumes
don't
they're-
you remember in 2020 all theaters shut down so they could wokeify themselves and then they
Right.
could come back and be super woke.
But let's
That's-
put this
that's what happened
puzzle.
in 2020.
Let's put this puzzle together, right? So, studios are giving up the fans' money because companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and all these companies are spending so much money for them to actually inject all of this woke ideology into media. That's the argument that is being made by a lot of these chuds, right?
Sure.
So Get Woke, Go Broke doesn't apply because either they don't mean that the studios are getting paid by all these companies, which is making them rich,
Yeah.
or they're saying that the shows and the movies and the TV shows or whatever that are failing are doing so and causing the studios to make some sort of ethical choice on whether or not they want to put out media that the fans like, even though they claim that they're getting paid big money from these other shadow organizations that are funneling money into them. So Get Woke, Go Broke doesn't even make sense in the world that they have created, because
No.
if that were true, it would be Get Woke, take money from corporations and don't give a fuck about the fans. That's what it
Yeah.
would be, not Get Woke, Go Broke, because that doesn't
We
make
don't
any
need
sense.
box office or viewers because we're making so much money on the back end.
Can we also
producing it.
talk
Who
about the
cares?
fact that there's no exchange of money in this statement? The Last of Us lost half its audience in just one season. They don't pay to watch the episodes of the show. It's a service that you pay for. It's not you don't pay per episode to watch The Last of Us on HBO.
Well, what I love about this post too is like I love the citation on it. It's so clear where it comes from and what they're drawing from.
Yeah, it's It's crazy to me. The whole thing is crazy.
I can't believe people people saying go woke, go broke. They might as well just be saying keep on trucking. Is that out of date? That I mean, it's provable nonsense because companies make stuff that they think will sell to people.
Right.
And that's what it was. It was a cultural shift. They thought, we want to tap into more markets. We want to tap into all the people that hate Disney for being a terrible corporation. We want to win them back by being more aligned with their politics. Now, the fact that there's a quite frankly small subset of people who reject those politics is not harming the box office. It's not harming the viewership.
Yeah, it's the get woke go broke thing doesn't even apply when you're talking about a show that was already diverse to begin with. That's another thing that's like, what are we even doing here at this point? I was trying to find. I had another saved tidbit. Oh, okay. So let's talk about this.
Ooh.
Wait, Ryan, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I was just going to say, you could argue The Last of Us has got less diverse because they've killed off a male South American character.
True. So our friend Grums has a problem with Sesame
Oh my
Street
God,
promoting
damn.
diversity here. So in the tweet from Sesame Street, it says, "On our street, everyone is welcome. Together, let's build a world where every person and family feels loved and respected for who they are. Happy Pride Month." Okay?
That's very sweet.
Yes.
Let's see the cringe take.
Well, Grums says this should not be promoted to kids, especially when there's so many instant, in quotes, which I don't, why is that in quotes?
Because it's not true.
Yeah. Diagnoses for gender dysphoria that have driven more profit by Munchausen by proxy than actual science. Which, by the way, no
The
citations.
fuck is he talking about?
No citations whatsoever. Just saying something. You're helping to ruin a lot of kids' lives who can never reverse course that drugs put them on. Wait till they make up their own minds. It's the reasonable thing to do. Where in this post does it say anything about taking drugs or changing gender or anything like that?
Where does it say? Where does it say in this post we're gonna make your kids trans? We're gonna make your kids gay?
But this just goes to show
Jesus Christ.
that their fear is irrational. It's an irrational fear, which is the literal definition of homophobia and transphobia.
I mean, there's so much to break down. Just like, okay, so like, no show is going to make your kids gay or trans. And if they are gay or trans, there's also nothing wrong with that. That is just normal. And
they don't understand what affirmation is. They don't understand what that is, like an affirmation. Like, if someone is already a thing, they're going to get affirmed if they can understand what that thing is, because that's what it helps you do. Are there cases where people in life have made decisions they've regretted? Yes. But you don't take away entire programs and things for communities because of that reason. You don't subtract that from there. Especially when, if Grums is going to make statements like this, drop links. Drop links. But I've got news for you. That isn't the case with most of this. Most people that say these kinds of things, there are people that do research, but the vast majority of them that I see say this on social media have done no research whatsoever. And Grums is, I mean, he's an idiot anyway. He's an idiot to begin with. It's just so dumb. This is one of the most harmless pieces of art I think I've seen in terms of like Pride Month, out of everything I've seen. And it also isn't the first time that Sesame Street has talked about diversity and being welcoming and all that. It's one of the core values of Sesame Street.
It's what Sesame Street was founded on. I mean, you go back to Jim Henson's hippie ethos. It began as a show on a poor neighborhood in, I think it's supposed to be set in New York, isn't it? It's a poor neighborhood in New York that features a diverse cast of human characters, black actors, Hispanic actors, white actors, all getting along together, and then various different Muppets and monsters who solve their differences. One of the main themes of the show for its entire history was cooperation. That's what it's known for, working together. And so this idea that, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean,
so I want to give a shout out here. Low watermark
low
coming
watermark.
through. dropping 10 actual fandom memberships, 10 memberships from my channel, and 10 for Bob. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Low Watermark. Good to see you. Give a shout out to Low Watermark in the chat, everybody.
It's such a benign post from Sesame Street, just saying, "Hey, love each other," and it's one of those things where it's like, if you get offended by that, that's so telling. I mean,
so it's really funny here. Wait a minute, aren't PBS and therefore part of the government subject to anti-DEI? Well, they got rid of that. See, this is why these idiots don't understand. Sesame Street is now being funded by Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't like something, they want to censor it. That's their solution, is to censor something. These are the anti-cancel culture people. But their solution to anything they don't like is to cancel it or censor it.
Because they don't know what it means.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, look, a Stone Toss comic.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, are they just idiots? Because, I mean, do they not know what Sesame Street is? Are their brains so addled that they don't understand?
I think that they are just doing the intellectually dishonest stuff. That's what I think it is. I think they know better, but they're just pretending.
I mean, if they knew that the South... Sorry, you go ahead, Bob.
I was just, mine's brief. I was just going to say, it's like complaining about diversity in Star Trek. It's like, it's part of the fucking ethos, man.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say...
See, like, look at this here.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Let's do a meme of assault, because that's great.
God, Twitter's such a cesspool anymore.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to tell them that the South African version of Sesame Street has a Muppet character that has HIV?
Oh yeah, I think somebody made a video about that at one point, but I don't remember.
I mean, it's entirely part of Sesame Street's core because it's a bigger problem there that affects people, and so they brought in a character to destigmatize it, and he's done a great job of that. Just
so, is it still running? Is that still on the air?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the sort of world status of Sesame Street is, because that was about 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the one thing that's funny here is if you read this and you subtract the rainbow picture out of it, right? Mm-hmm. On our street, everyone is welcome together. Let's build a world where every person and family feels love and respect of who they are, right? His comment is, wait till they make up their own minds. It's the reasonable thing to do. So we're supposed to allow them to hate people and grow up with bad values until they can make up their minds?
Make up their minds on whether or not they want to endorse a world where every person feels loved and respected.
Right. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do with Trump.
The fuck?
So fucking stupid. The funny thing is that he also did this. Where he thinks that they fixed Siri from Witcher 4 when literally it's the same model. And he's like,
yeah,
they fixed her because we said something. You think they went back and did that because of you? Again, it's just the entitlement complex.
It's a different
so
screenshot. And it drives me nuts because it's like she never looked unattractive in any of the screenshots they were pulling. And this video game stuff gets so weird in my opinion. It's like
I was gonna cover this, but then I actually decided not to, because surprisingly, Grums doesn't. People aren't really interested in Grums. He doesn't get as much traction as he used to.
Well, because I mean, he's a big idiot. I mean, they selectively choose. Is this really the grift? They selectively choose unflattering screenshots, and then when those screenshots, when they've got different screenshots, they say, "See, we did this." I mean, it's like.
Spider-Man 2, they picked an unflattering screenshot of Mary Jane because if you actually look at her in gameplay footage, she looks pretty much the same as she does in the first game, just with more detail. Yeah.
This is the best y'all got? This is your person? This is your guy, Grums? And then Griff God, who's also kind of a chud, says she looks the exact same, though. It's like he's calling him out. He's saying, like, by the way, you're an idiot. She looks the same to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a lot else to show, but I will say it is really fun watching Elon and Trump fight via the internet. That's pretty hilarious. So
I hope it continues. I've seen a bit of it, but I hope it continues just because it's fun to watch. But let's be clear, Elon has still not de-entangled himself from.
Oh, I'm very much like, I just want to sit back and watch them fight. Like, I'm not picking a
Yeah.
side on it at all.
Let me get some popcorn. Let me
I
get
think, okay, so let me tell you guys what I think has happened, and then I actually have something fun to end off on before I head out, depending on how, are we shutting out at the same time? Is that what we're going to do? Or
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be streaming
So
tomorrow, though.
I think Elon spent a bunch of money to get Trump into office and all of these other people into office, thinking that he would get this Doge committee and he would be respected, and everything that he puts out there, Trump would just sign off on, and he would be seen as like this enlightened savior of the world, right? But obviously that didn't happen. Matter of fact, most of the stuff that he tried to do did not get approved. So it got blocked by judges. There was no pushback from Republicans. People started subtracting him from events. Next thing you know, he's stepping down. Now, I know people said that he was supposedly going to step down anyway, but based on his reaction now, that's not true. 100% not true. He stepped down not because he thought he was going to. He thought he was going to be in this for the long haul. He actually thought he was going to be like the president's best friend. That's what I think. I think he was going to be Trump's best friend through the whole 4 years. And so now he gets kicked out. I think he feels like he's being scapegoated by Trump and the Republicans, who don't want anything to do with him. Because remember when he went to, I can't remember where it was, that judge, the federal judge race or whatever, that he was trying to push, didn't work. He went and endorsed a couple people, that didn't work. So he's kind of kryptonite for the Republican Party right now, and his business is tanking. So they don't want anything to do with him, and they think it's going to help him in midterms. Spoiler alert, it is not. But the fact that he is calling out this bill has sparked sort of this weird situation where now Marjorie Taylor Greene is also calling the bill out, which is absolutely bonkers to me that she's even saying anything. Other Republicans are also calling it out. It's probably not going to make it through Senate. It's got some weird stuff in it, like no restrictions on AI for a decade. That's crazy.
Yeah, I saw this. It's that states are not allowed to regulate AI for a
for an
decade.
entire decade.
So it's taking
The
away
federal
states'
government
rights,
can do whatever
which
they
is-
want, but states can't do anything.
Yep. So it's taking away states' rights, which is apparently all they've ever cared about.
Yeah. So this goes against almost every single congressperson that's on the Republican side, because they literally got elected on states' rights. That's what they went in for, to drain the swamp.
Wait. That would make them hypocrites.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So they're pushing back on this a little bit, which is kind of interesting to watch. So I think we're heading into not the civil war that we expected, but like a conservative civil war, because you're going to have people that are going to side with Trump, who, by the way, has been absent from media since Friday. He hasn't made any appearances anywhere since Friday, unless something happened today. He's been tweeting about stuff, but he's not been anywhere. We haven't seen him. He's been invisible. Like, I think they saw him over the weekend, maybe one day, and then he hasn't been anywhere since then. And Fox was running Stephen Miller tweets saying this is what Stephen Miller is saying. So they're not even running what Trump is saying. So we're in this like conservative civil war. And I have to tell you guys, this is good. This is good, because that means it's going to stall whatever they're doing, because they're going to be infighting. So it makes it easier for us to get things done in a positive way, because they're going to be fighting with each other and stuff might slip through. And that's good, because any little bit of extra space we can get before midterms is fine. But we're seeing like special seats getting filled. I think it was South Carolina, a Republican spot that Trump led with by like 50 some points or whatever in his race. They just lost a Republicanly held seat. I can't even say it. To an incumbent, or the incumbent lost to a Democrat coming in. First time, young guy, took him out of their space, and now that's a Democratic space. And so we're seeing this in real time as it's happening. So it's really interesting to see how pockets of the country are sort of fighting back against everything that's going on. But then we have performative stuff, and I want to address this one thing because I made a post about it. So they're trying to take Harvey Milk off of a ship in the Navy. But one of the things they didn't tell you is they're also taking off other names like Harriet Tubman. That one's coming down. Thurgood Marshall. That one's supposedly coming down. There's a bunch of other ones of women and POC activists and people in the military that are getting removed from the ships by Pete Hegseth. But guess which ones aren't? All the white guys. All the white guy ones are staying. Everybody else is getting erased. So, but this is something that we can't focus on that. I know people want to get mad about that. Those are things that can be changed back very easily when the next administration comes in. The next head of Department of Defense can come in and say, we're going to change them all back. Very easy for them to do that. What we need to focus on is the stuff like this big, beautiful bill, because this is something that could cause major problems. So I want to remind you guys that it's not a lost cause. We're seeing a lot of things change in the country, and it's all, it's pushing back. We're seeing activism. This military parade is going to be funny because there's a lot of pocket communities that are doing activist demonstrations while that's going on. So keep an eye on that. But I think a lot, them not affirming Pride Month, who gives a fuck? I don't care if the White House affirms Pride Month. Pride Month never required the White House to affirm it. The entire existence of Pride Month was a pushback against the government. That's what it was. It was activism. Yes. We don't need the White House to tell us Pride Month exists. We don't need bigots and hard-headed people on fucking Twitter to tell us that Pride Month needs some sort of affirmation from Trump. It doesn't. Yeah. He has no power over that. Pride is an activist movement. It's going to happen whether the White House incentivizes it or not. But we're seeing a lot of that happen, and I think we're moving in the right direction in terms of people that are pushing through and breaking through some of this narrative. And so keep your eye on the big things. Be aware of the annoying things, but do not get distracted by the annoying things. The annoying things are not the important things right now. They can be changed later. So I think that's what's important. So, So right here, this is what I was saying. Harriet Tubman, Harvey Milk are getting erased, but, excuse me, Confederate generals aren't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on.
Yeah, and I think, like you were saying, these sorts of things tells you who they are, but it doesn't tell you what they're doing. And what they're doing is much more important to focus on. And just to add a little bit of colour to what you were saying about Elon as well, I think something else he didn't count on is he knew he was going to get a lot of government contracts by being a part of the government. He thought that he was going to pick up Republicans buying Teslas where liberals stopped buying Teslas. Right. And he made a huge mistake there because they ain't giving up that oil.
Big, huge. Like Pretty Woman. But yeah, you're right. No, he and I don't think he's ever going to gain that trust back. I actually think he is going to be kryptonite for his company forever. I think they're going to have to figure something out because what he's done is almost irredeemable, I think.
And the other car companies are only getting better at electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Taco. Trump always, what is it? Trump always
chickens out.
Yeah.
That's when hilarious. He announced his tariffs yesterday.
The other thing,
I turned around and I was like, "Oh, guys, look, it's a Taco Tuesday."
The tariff thing is crazy because they said that the aluminum and steel manufacturers just thought Trump had put his foot down on what he was going to do, and then immediately he flips around and does something else. And they're like, "These are people that are waiting for you to make a decision because you're the commander in chief. You're the one that's working with them and negotiating." The flip-flopping of cost makes it impossible for them to get any contracts done because, say, for example, I sign a contract with someone today saying it's going to cost you $500 for me to do that work. And then tomorrow I find out that all of a sudden the president has raised those materials up by 50%. I have to go back to the table and say, okay, well, the 500 is not going to work now. What are we going to do? And they can say, well, you've already signed off on it. There's nothing you can do. So they don't want to get locked in to these contracts on goods and materials. This is crazy. I don't know why anybody believes this person understands how to run businesses. He just doesn't.
And the fact is, I think he's going to get more and more revealed because he's run out of easy lies. He used to be able to lie about stuff and people would actually have to fact check it and then report on that fact checking and people would have to see the reports. Now, when he's lying about the cost of things that people have to buy every day, people notice that he's lying.
It's already hitting Walmart. Walmart.
If he says that gas is gone down and people go and buy gas and realize it hasn't, they're going to notice. If people go and buy eggs and they're not cheaper, people are going to notice.
Well, that's the thing is that this bill is going... So what's happening is almost every single thing that Trump has done has ended up in court because most of it is illegal. He's getting called on it. That's why the trade courts have said, your tariffs are illegal. He actually went back and said, this is one of the things he didn't talk about. He agreed that if they find what he has done is illegal, the government has to pay back every single business in the country that lost money due to his tariffs. So he has agreed to that on paper, okay? The fact that two different sets of courts now have said that he has 100% violated trade agreements with the rest of the world, and it's gone against the control he has over tariffs based on the wartime proclamation bullshit, enemy acts thing. the chances of another court striking that down are very unlikely, meaning that what's going to happen is no matter how far he takes this, he's still going to lose, and then he is going to have to pay back hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars to American businesses that lost money over the last 3 months.
And let's be clear, he's not using his own money to do that. It's
No.
your money. If you pay tax, it's your money that he's using.
Yeah.
Just like it's your money that he lost, because Doge has been a massive disaster.
Yeah.
You know how much it's cost as well. And that's all
It
taxpayer
costs
money.
more than it saved because they don't even know how
Yes.
much it saved anymore. The number is so small, they can't even really look at it and go, it did anything. It didn't do really anything. The other thing is we pay taxes and everybody seems to be okay with no programs being afforded to us for that.
Yeah.
So we're paying all these taxes. What programs is the government giving us? Spoiler alert, none of them. It is tax breaks for rich people and the military. That's where that money is going. We as citizens are getting nothing from conservatives on this. They're taking away everything and slashing everything. It's crazy to me that people are buying into this. They have literally been brainwashed. A big chunk of them have literally been brainwashed. Or, as I've seen online, they're too stupid to understand how bad this all is. However, before we go, because I have to go after this, and I'm assuming we're shutting down, let's leave on something a little bit lighthearted here. We have some Fantastic Four theater goodies, and I want to point out, so we have the cups here, these cute little cups. This is for AMC, if you're going to an AMC. I have to say, I kind of like the Human Torch one. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Maybe then Thing. I'm sorry, Reed and Sue, yours are not.
I feel
that
like they could have
exciting,
done more with Reed's. Could they have made something about it?
Yeah,
statue?
Reed
Why
was
not do
the
one of the
blandest
straws with like
one,
the
yeah.
weird, like the bendy straws? That would have been kind of cool.
And the invisible,
Yeah.
the invisible woman half the cup should have been clear.
Yeah.
It's tough to tell. It might be clear. It's just tough to tell now.
Color changing would be great if that was one of those.
That'd be epic if it was color changing. Yeah.
We have popcorn tins with figures on them, which I think is kind of cute.
Yeah, interesting.
You know. Now, this next one is my favorite thing. I don't have an AMC near me. I go to like a local theater. The closest AMC to me is like 45 minutes away. But I'm going to go to get this next goodie here. This popcorn bucket is fucking crazy, and it's limited, which means I have to go right away. I don't know if you guys saw or not, but the AMC system crashed twice on ticket sales for Fantastic
I
Four.
saw it had crashed once. I didn't realize it had crashed.
Yeah, they
twice.
popped up and said there was a second minor crash in the West Coast. So that's a really good sign for Marvel that their sales are crashing sites. And lastly, we have the Herbie concession vessel. Includes large popcorn, drink, and candy, plus a place to store it all. So this is kind of cute. Again, these are all limited, so definitely get in while you can. But I would say between Superman and Fantastic Four, the marketing for these movies is definitely like we want you and your kids to come, because that's what I feel like with these two things. So we'll see how it plays out for them. Hopefully I get the Galactus head. I'll put it like right here behind me,
That
so
would
it'll be kind of
epic,
creepy.
Yeah.
It's still so weird to me that Ralph Ineson is playing him, and he was Finchy in the office, in the UK office.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Because
Is
of
that
course
weird?
I've seen him in TV for years in various different roles.
He's got
so
the
it's
perfect
really-
voice for like a
He does have the
big guy,
perfect
yes.
voice for it, but he's already been in the MCU. He was a Ravager in Guardians.
Hey,
1, was it?
I'm
two?
just really confused. I thought Galactus was this like cloud of smoke that was in space. I'm confused.
Yeah. They changed it. Damn them. They should have kept it like it was in the comic. A giant cloud of smoke.
They've made it DEI by making it a person.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, I think I'm good to wrap it up. Are we going to wrap up now? Is that it?
Guys,
Yeah.
I'll be streaming tomorrow covering comic books. I think right now for your guys' polls, it's what do we got? Absolute Superman and Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, and then I'll pick 2 other ones to cover. And then I think there's some trailers for me to cover. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein sounds like fun. I'll probably check that one out. And then of course, I will cover some Chuds as well, because what else would I do? That'll be tomorrow at 5:00 Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you guys all there.
And I have a brand new video out on Jester Bell. I finally went over and checked her channel out. So I go through my process of how I select what channels I'm going to cover. And you guys, I'm not going to spoil it here, so go watch my video if you haven't seen it yet.
It's an
only
excellent video.
so
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But go check that out. I probably will react to one of her videos, but I go through like my thought process with everybody. So, and I'm going to be live tomorrow night with the Nerdcast.
Well, Aunt Gramulia covered her video on Harley Quinn, which you were sort of talking.
That was a rough
around.
one. I got halfway through it. I couldn't do it. It was like, oof.
And I believe she's friendly with EFAP, so make of that what you will. But yeah.
So she's objective.
Yeah, I think so.
By the way, I have a Mahler video that I have recorded. I still need to edit out, but hopefully I'll get that out fairly soon. Hopefully it's half as good as Anthony Gramulia's.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Ant's video on objectivity, it's excellent. It manages to be fair and still eviscerating. So
That's
yeah,
good.
check me out if you like 70s TV, because that's a lot of what I cover. And I'm just moving into covering Agatha Christie adaptations as well. So
there we go.
That'll be the rest of my life, because there's millions of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get some pro in there.
Yeah, my first one is Evil Under the Sun, which I think is probably the best Agatha Christie adaptation. Which I don't know if either of you guys are familiar with, but
my partner loves Agatha Christie, so he watches it all the time. So it's like I've seen so much Agatha Christie.
Well, tell him he needs to make you watch Evil Under the Sun, because I think you'll enjoy that. It's camp. It's 1930s. It's Roddy McDowell, Maggie Smith, Diana Rigg. The cast is fantastic.
Okay. Yeah,
Some of the dialogue is fantastic.
He loves a lot of the older stuff, so he's probably seen it, but we'll probably sit through it together if he loves it enough. So, all right, well, that's it.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Guys, party on and be excellent to each other as I figure out how to end this. Oh, yeah, I think I just do this.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Brie Larson says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
Words are flowing out like woke. Mary Sue, objective truth. They don't mean much, but nothing ever does across the grift of.
All right, you assholes.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
The what now?
How do you do, fellow kids?